describes acts of extreme violence in graphic detail and may include discussions about demonology and the occult, topics that caused widespread panic during the 1980s. This content may not be suitable for children under the age of 50. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
And now, from the Imperial Studio in the Free City of Longwood, welcome to GROGTALK.
Well, welcome to GROGTALK. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's been a while, and I wanted to catch up with you all as we prepare for GrogCon 26, which is coming up September 9th through the 12th here in Orlando. Well, they're in Orlando. I don't live in Orlando anymore. But I hope you all can make it. For information, go to www.grogcon.com. Anyway, this episode is a result of me and Rob going up to the Appalachian Uncon last month. And as we're driving home, reflecting on it, we had a conversation. This conversation is edited somewhat. It was also in the car, so there are some road noise, and I've reduced it as best I can. So the quality may not be as good as I would want it, but certainly there's some good conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. And now, on with the show. Welcome to GrogTalk. I'm James.
I'm Rob, the driver.
Rob, the driver. Yes, we are currently about 30 miles plus or minus outside of Richmond, Virginia, after leaving the 5th annual Appalachian Uncon. Yes, the invitation-only unconvention where various games were played with various folks in a fun way, and Rob, of course, is gracious enough to drive me back to and from the gaming convention, back to my Imperial lair. And I was like, well, I had some thoughts that we wanted to talk about. And being that Rob is captive because he's driving, he really doesn't have much of a choice. I guess he could not say anything, but he has graciously volunteered and accepted that he's going to be discussing these topics, which have been pre-reviewed with you, correct?
Yes, and there should be no surprises.
Okay, excellent. So,
unless someone veers into traffic and we go off the road.
That would make for an excellent podcast content. They always want something surprising to happen with the contest, so we could do that. Anyway, one of my first thoughts so we were here, started Friday, we ended Sunday, and we departed Monday, basically. The gaming ended last night.
Yeah, today is Memorial Day weekend.
Right, and we are driving back. And so one of the things that cons do, and this one was no exception, was allow folks to play new systems. And in fact, Rob ran a new system, so I'll allow him to talk about that and what his thoughts are on showing new systems to people who haven't played it.
Oh, okay. So, well, one of the things you need to understand about the Appalachian Uncon is that we have, as part of our mandate, that we're going to play old school games or old school inspired games. And so we mostly play AD&D or BX rules. But I have recently gotten interested in a newer release called Barrows in Borderlands, which is kind of a gonzo setting, very familiar to anyone who's familiar with the original D&D setting. But D&D rules, but it includes rules for psionics and robots and mutations. It's basically.
Oh no! The police reported that they found us out.
All right, I got to drop back into the slow lane. So what I found is that. Introducing this new game to players was relatively simple because it was a similar rule set with statistics that they rolled up on 3d6 and you roll a d20 to hit. And so it was very much a familiar thing. And then the things that were specific to the game system, you roll out as they come up. There's differences in magic. So when the magic user wants to cast his magic missile, that's where you introduce the new rules. I think that's invite them in with the stuff that they already understand how to do, and then ladle out the new rules or any changes along with the lore or the story that or the adventure that comes ahead. If you can get them, if you can relate them to one another, then you can keep the attention of the players.
Okay. Like we kind of talked about during the whole weekend, because there's a few things, new games. Someone else introduced Conan. You kind of talked about a little bit. What makes a successful introduction to a game? Letting the mechanics kind of reveal themselves naturally as opposed to a big dump of all the changes. That's what you also saw, correct?
Yeah, I think that instead of trying to explain the entire, every rule and every system, anybody really wants to do to start is how do I roll to hit? What do I have to do to hit the guy and do damage? And then it becomes pretty clear who is good at it and who isn't, and whose numbers are good for it. And I think that it's best to explain a base mechanic, whatever it is. Often it's, whatever dice you choose, and then just start playing. And at least that's my experience. There's other people, though, like to read the rule book from beginning to end and understand anything and are afraid to make a mistake. But I think the old school philosophy is mistakes will be made.
Right, and you just don't want to be in the way of presenting the game, this feel of the game. More police. Oh my goodness, they're just everywhere. So you did allow your players to create characters. So is there a time when you're introducing this? A, do you recommend that when you're showing a new system? And then B, can you think of a time when, if you were going to introduce a game, that you wouldn't allow them to create a character?
Well, if the creation of characters is itself entertaining, I mean, I think of Traveler. Traveler is creating a character. It's a mini game. That's part of the fun. I had people create characters because I wanted them to realize, well, two things. One, I wanted people to realize that it's very easy to create a character, and you basically roll your stats in order, pick a class and a race, and you're off to the races. And I wanted them to know how to do it because Barrows and Borderlands is a very deadly game. I mean, my first PC death was literally was 10 minutes into the game. So 10 minutes later, they're dragging their buddy's body out, and he's rolling up a new character. So if character generation is simple, you should, and the game is lethal, then by all means, you need to have people know how to create characters. But if it's a new game system and character creation is kind of complicated, like point buy system or dice assign system or whatever, I think you're better off giving people pre-gens.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that, Emperor James?
Well, so I've done this a couple of times. I did it with Toon, and I've done it with So You Want to Be a Rock Star, and I've done it with Paranoia. Those were the three games that I did at GROGTALK.
Yeah.
And all three games I did a pre-gen. Because for me, the goal was, I wasn't trying to sell the game. I was trying to get them to quickly play it. But also those games lended themselves to the unknown of the mechanics. There were a few mechanics, and it's really about the atmosphere of what you set up. So Paranoia, you're really not supposed to know much. In fact, half the fun is handing them the sheet, and the player goes, "What does this mean?" You go, "You don't know. It is what it is," and let them figure it out as they progress through the game. Whereas Toon, it's a handful of stats. They'll ask, "Well, what can I do with this rubber eraser?" So you'll find out what you can do with the rubber eraser. And then, So You Want to Be a Rock Star, that had a little more, but as long as they have a base of playing an RPG before, most people can pick it up, at least at the general idea. Now, as far as the mechanics, I try not for them to pick up a dice until 30 minutes into the game, but I want them to have actions. And so what I mean by that is you set it up really quick, let them start doing things, and all three of those games they're trying to introduce relationships between the players and have them have some dynamic and let them figure out what this means. Really, in those games, you're trying, as the referee or GM or DM, whatever you're going to call it, you're trying to almost be like an improv person, throwing an improv idea and let them go run around with it.
Well, I had another thought also. I think you're right. In most convention situations, I think it's best when the GM creates pre-gens, without a doubt, because then you can get started right into the game, and it's a one-shot. Well, one other aspect, though, of my Barrows and Borderlands game is that it was my expectation that this is going to be an ongoing game. And so if I had players who were invested in the characters they created, then next year when we get together, we can pick up the adventure and those same characters right where it left off. I mean, the adventure that they're in is basically a mega dungeon. So as we were playing, we played it for a couple of days while we were there, 2 sessions, and people would drop up and say, "Well, what's going on here?" And I'd say, "Let's roll up a character and jump in," because it's very easy, but just pop you in. So my expectation is my hope is that people will want to play it next year, and they'll say, "Oh, I want to play that same character that I created," which you don't necessarily get in a one-shot unless, which many people do, they create characters and then use them from scenario to scenario. But anyway, that was another thought about it. Mine was like a hybrid. It isn't just a one-shot. I'm actually trying to establish it more as a tradition.
Okay. And so you had not played Barrows and Borderlands before, correct?
I had not DM'd it. No.
Oh, that's right. You did play it.
Yeah, I had the great good luck at DaveCon in April to sit down at the table with the game's creator, Matt Tapp, and sit and pick his brain and see how he ran it. And I think I was able to get a real idea of the philosophy behind it, for want of a better term. And the philosophy behind Barrows and Borderlands is you're going to do. The rules are designed to be as fun as possible. It's not what you would call. It doesn't. I mean, it can be, but it's not at its basis a game which is emphasis on the fun and the craziness of things that happen. If there's a choice between doing something that's fun and something that is realistic, it absolutely leans into fun.
On I-95 South, I-64 East toward Richmond, Norfolk.
We are back, driving yet again on 95 South, barreling towards Lumberton, North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yes, we are. In fact, we are just now entering Nash County. The sign just went by.
Nash County. Very nice. Well, another topic that kind of came up during this
Appalachian
Con was, I think that they're in the similar thing, the etiquette / dynamics or issues with large groups playing and or groups playing and drinking from a enjoyability of the game. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it is a real challenge for a game master to game master 10 or 12 players at any given time. When you add the alcohol, it makes it so much better for everyone, especially if the GM is drinking. If the GM is drinking, then the hilarity goes through the roof.
Have you installed or put in place, if someone rolls a 20, everyone takes a shot?
I'm going to be suggesting that as an amendment to the Constitution.
I think that would be great for the
Iron Man rules.
The Iron Man rules.
Yes, well, Iron Man rules applies at certain games on Friday and Saturday night. That sounds like an ideal thing.
Yeah, I think, and the reason we brought this up, the first night we were here, people were happy to see each other. Some people drove very far. Regardless, it was a multi-hour drive Friday afternoon, and people were trying to unwind, and food was eaten and libations were had, and
got a little loud.
Got a little loud because we're all catching up. And then it was decided there was a scheduled event to play Star Frontiers with the whole group, which meant the person running the event had about 8 or 9 folks playing, which is a larger group. And it got loud. It wasn't, terribly loud, but then people were drinking and
got louder.
It got louder.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I didn't have a problem with it. I was more just tired, let alone that. But
and not everyone at the table drinks, and so they feel a little annoyed. And some people are more attentive to the game than other people are, because, like you say, there are side conversations going on. I'm not going to say I was exempt from this circumstance. I don't know. Most people think that's the ideal situation, to have a beer or a small glass of brown liquor at their elbow while they mow down robots and cultists.
Or robot cultists.
Robot cultists, exactly.
Yeah, we were. So this is an unsponsored plug, but we found Goochland County Moonshine has been exceptional for this event. In fact, we're hoping to have them sponsor it.
And it was really easy to get. They sell them in jugs at every rest stop in Goochland County.
Yeah, which is it's a little bit away, but we picked some up on the way there. Goochland County Distillery, also known as Mama Barb and Uncle Ray's.
That's right. The revenuer is not welcome.
That's right. Keep your filthy tax collectors away. And I did appreciate it. It came in those fine 5-gallon jugs.
Well, and it's really it was very effective at cleaning bacon grease off of surfaces.
A fine solvent, I would say that.
Yeah, it's a fine industrial solvent.
Yes, degreaser and other solvents. So, going to you run a game, or you're part of a game, the monthly game, if I remember correctly, every 2 weeks. Is drinking tolerated, accepted, encouraged, and what has been the thing of it?
No, we don't generally drink during. Sometimes it has happened that a person has had a beer or two, but it's not really a drinking affair. It's ours. We play in the afternoon, so it's not. And then we have to drive home, so there's no drinking at that. I think that this drinking is better when you're at an event like this. We're all staying in the same place. We're at the place. We're gaming late, and then go to bed.
So. With that said, I think the only time it's an issue is when someone either is so inebriated that they become a different person, or they can't focus on the game.
Yeah, and that certainly, that's never, well, that's not good under any circumstances. I mean, you have a situation where, someone's had too much to drink and they're nodding over their character sheets and they're not very attentive. Well, that's okay. But people are belligerent and loud and disruptive. That's a problem. If and I think there are some people who get overstimulated by a lot of crosstalk and that kind of stuff, and that diminishes their enjoyment of the game. And as a general rule, the first game, which everybody's around the table, and it's a big thing at Uncon, it's not to be expected that it's going to be a very, quote, serious game, that a whole lot of gaming is going to occur. It should definitely be a beer and pretzels sort of game.
Right. Not as serious. Kick down the door, or in this case, blow open the spaceport.
Crash land your spaceship right in the front door.
Tumble out, shoot some infected miners, and try to find out where the xenomorph is.
Yeah, I mean, the xenomorph is in one of us. All we have to do is cut people open until we find it.
Exactly. So let's talk about, I think, one of the more novel, maybe it's novel to us.
Police reported ahead.
More novel sessions was one of our folks ran, I'm not going to call it an AI led game, but an AI augmented game.
Yeah. This is a game that Sonny has been talking about online and talking to some of us for a while. He does a lot of solo play, so he's been experimenting.
D&D solo play?
Yeah, AD&D solo play, or actually probably second edition. And he's been training his chat GTP AI thing to run a game for him, and so he has established characters, and he's exploring, been doing hex crawls and things like that. And apparently he's been telling us he's been getting some really good results. And so he wanted to kind of demonstrate it. So we had characters, and we would tell that there's problems with using AI in this way, which is if you tell it, for example, we're going to run an encounter, you got to kind of tell it that you want a challenging encounter, you want to have a combat encounter, something like that, or else, you'll run into goats or, beggars or something like that. So you have to kind of be more specific about it. And AIs, as a general rule, it's been my experience that they bend over backwards to make sure that you always come out on top. So we sat down with this and we started basically going through the adventure that it had created from its own from its own large language model. And it was really quite exceptional and well written, real read. And when we went up against the big bad at the end of it, it was a very challenging fight. So I think it always worked out really well. I think it's a testament not just to how far that these AIs have gone, but also at how well Sonny has done at training it in the rules. Because even when it says it knows the rules, it doesn't necessarily know the rules. You have to emphasize it. The example that was given was the example that Sonny kept coming back to was that there's a initiative. It keeps forgetting whether high initiative is good or low initiative is good, and you had to keep training it. So after a while of some diligence, and I guess the application of the proper discipline, it now gets the rules right.
So
Object on road reported ahead.
I gotta pay attention to that.
So that's fine. So what we're hearing is Sonny has been doing solo play and grooming something to help him with it.
Yeah, I would say that's about right. He's been grooming a language model for his own particular role
Fantasies.
Fantasies, yes, his role-playing fantasy.
He has certain proclivities, and he's grooming this thing to help with it.
Yeah, I think that's a very salacious way to say it, yeah.
Okay. Well, just to kind of back up. So, like you said, Sonny's has been using an AI to put the world that he has envisioned. He has characters, and he's been running adventures.
It brings it to life.
And so mechanically, the way he showed us how it worked is he maintains the character information, levels, their resources, because while he tried to use that, he thought it was cumbersome. He prompts the AI for areas and the next encounter and what they find with some additional prompts, but most of the maintenance of the characters themselves.
Yeah, the maintenance of the characters are done by the players on their character sheet. So if you keep track of your own missiles, you write down your own gold pieces, you keep track of your hit points, etc. But where this thing really became kind of gold was coming up with. We ran into this completely AI generated NPC who turned out to be this cursed dwarf. He's cursed to wander this land and never go in the facility, but he could lead us to it. And it was really very moody. It was able to come across through its descriptions a very creepy mood that was appropriate for the adventure we were on.
Yes. So the things I liked about it, it evoked, based on Sonny's prompts and what he wanted, it was able to elicit and evoke that style that he wanted. It was able to take concepts and goals that Sonny wanted to have as far as our experience. So not to go into too many details, instead of saying, hey, I want a Frost Guardian,
Shoulder ahead.
Frost Titan or something, he said, he wanted some Guardian that used Frost and to prevent the Forge from being reignited, which was the party's goal.
Yeah, that was it. So we needed to this. You know what? We don't need to go into all this detail.
Well, but the plan was you can be. It will create evocative things that, as opposed to just taking a generic monster from the monster manual or one of those to do that. So, what were some of the things that you thought still needed to be improved? Rob, anything?
Well, I think that AIs are still a little far in that they have difficulty keeping track of things long term. Now, Sonny was telling me that, again, through long and diligent grooming, he's able to get it to keep track of the date in his campaign world. So it now knows, and it's being able to properly keep track of weather and things like that, which is pretty significant. The bit that we saw, I thought was really good. The one thing that it can't do, and is that it can't distinguish voices. So the way you have to do it like in the old style game where there's a caller. So we would tell Sonny what we wanted our characters to do, what our intentions were, and what we rolled and everything like that. And then Sonny would then be the person to have to convey it to the AI, either through speech or through typing it in.
Yeah, and that's my observation, at least the way it was presented. There may be better ways, and please put that in the comments of what you're doing. The way we were able to, and we had a 2 hour plus session, and it was very entertaining, and it's still not a complete experience, meaning I think, if I was going to think of the perfect state would be any of the players could push the button, and just like with the DM say, I'm going to cast Magic Missile at the dragon, and it would know what that meant and adjudicate and provide a nice flowery description. It can, and do it with the sound effects and different voices. This is, you still either have to talk and then it converts it to text, or you have to type it in, and hopefully it understands what you're doing in spite of the autocorrect, which sometimes would do it. And if you wanted to hear it, you had to do a text-to-speech, and it was, whatever the default text-to-speech narrator did it.
But I will say that what I really got out of this was I think Sonny did an excellent job of conveying his enthusiasm for this and why he's put as much time into it as he has. And it was a lot of fun. I could see that, and it's improving every day. This stuff, that's the one thing about this. I mean, as they mow down mountaintops and steal all the water in Utah to build data centers, it's the result is better D&D experiences for using AI. So, it's a net positive.
Yeah, I would say on the continuum, using today's video game analogy, we're not at, we're not back at Sword of Barlong, if that's like or Temple of Apshai, the original games, and Baldur's Gate 3 is the apex of the current version. I would say we're still before Pool of Radiance, 1989. We're still in the early 80s, but the potential is there. And I think shortly, in the next, whether it's a year or two or some years, I think we will see that. And what I mean by Pool of Radiance is that was the first video game that I played that I felt like I was playing D&D. That the rules were there, the experience was there, and you could pretty much do what you want as far as a gaming adventure, and you had a story, and it kind of worked out. I would say here we're still at the one or two generations before it, but it's definitely exciting if it takes away the minutia of the things that humans don't do well, keeping track of stuff, combat adjudication, all that, and it provides perspectives and flavors that you may not think of while you're creating the adventure. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think that the way to think of it is, remember, it is a large language model, so its strength is in storytelling. So it can actually come up with a pretty good story and tell it. It's not quite there yet for the purposes of figuring out and being rules on its own, being rules contingent. Even if you tell it, you're starting from scratch and you say, I want to play a second edition D&D game and use these rules or use this rule set. you really have to keep training it to remind it that what the rule set is. I think ideally, when the apotheosis comes, we'll be able to say, I want to play AD&D second edition circa 1986 and only use these books, and it will do it perfectly. Or if you were interested in another game system, you say you want to use GURPS, it'll just do it for you.
Yeah, I know that they were talking about, or he had to, or was retraining and ingest the rule books that he wanted it to use as primary sources as opposed to the language model that. So there's a lot more information. I gave it a B overall. It was enjoyable. It ticked that box.
Yeah.
It didn't stumble a lot, but it was entertaining.
I would say that it comes off on its own as an inexperienced GM that doesn't really know all the rules, but has a really good adventure to tell. Again, I'll go back to Sonny. Sonny has an A+ as an AI DM evangelist. He was great. I went away realizing there's a lot more potential there than I ever imagined there was.
Yeah, and it was nice that he had those brochures on investing on the data center in Utah. That was really fortunate. And that, I remember that one encounter with those bipedal humanoids. And after they were introduced, it was brought to you by the Utah Data Center Collective, and shares are being available at www.killutahbysuckingallthewaterandpowerout.org.
Yeah, I'm just kind of gratified to have had the opportunity to invest so heavily down the ground floor.
Yeah, we want to be founding fathers in the demise of the Western United States. So, with that, it looks like we're heading into a major storm. So when the NTSB does their investigation and recovers this information, they can see what we were doing before the tsunami took it up. But for Grog Talk, we may do some more next day or whatever, as long as the batteries hold out. For Grog Talk, I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And live on the road or from Appalachian Uncon 5. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Machine Puppet production. All rights reserved.